Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Guys, I heard rumors that you were spotted in Marvel Snap. Does this mean you're abandoning the sinking Hearthstone ship? I demand answers.
Very witty Dora. Marvel Snap continues to be the most popular and profitable collectible card game on mobile platforms. We simply cannot ignore this elephant in the room.
This summer, Marvel Snap emerged victorious in the innovation category as part of the Apple Design Award. Also, a few months ago the official launch of the game on Steam took place. A few days ago, the game was included in the final list of the most profitable games on Steam in the Early Access Graduates category. Almost a year has passed since our first review of the game and I decided to return to the Snap universe to find out the direction of the game's development after its resounding success. Thus, in this video you will find completely subjective impressions of a Hearthstone fan. Don't be surprised by comparisons with my favorite game. Moreover, these two games have the same father and comparisons are inevitable.
Oh yes guys, I remember your review last year, which received a record number of dislikes from viewers. It's good that YouTube doesn't show the level of your shame.
Our relationship with the game was complicated. Ben Broad has proven himself capable of creating unique and interesting card games, but our positive impressions were completely destroyed by the manipulative progression system based on gacha mechanics. Therefore, we are very interested in what has changed over the past year.
Let me start with first impressions. I returned to Marvel Snap after a long break and found that there was no reward for returning. Over the course of the year, more than 50 cards were added to the game, and, as you probably know, getting even one card in Snap is not an easy task. Players still do not receive compensation for cards that have undergone balance changes. The game remains extremely grind-oriented. New tasks and offers in the store are added every 8 hours, so as not to lose benefits you must log into the game several times a day. This is not a flaw, but rather a feature of the game. But I was very surprised that there is still no reroll button that would allow you to change the quest. Some quests require more effort and time from the player and also force the use of a certain strategy. Quite often I had to leave one of the slots occupied, which led to loss of benefits. This is a significant problem, especially in a game that adds 2 new tasks 3 times a day. You may not like Hearthstone, but you can't ignore the fact that in its 10 years of existence, the game has set certain standards in the industry. In addition to Ben Broad, the Snap team contains a large number of former experienced Hearthstone designers. It's very strange that they still ignore such important and convenient things that can improve the player's experience.
You're like a little kid who didn't get a present from Ben Broad at Winter Veil. Better tell us more about the gameplay component.
The gameplay is the best aspect of Snap. If Hearthstone can be called the best collectible card game for PCs and tablets, then Snap is definitely the best game for smartphones. Short and dynamic sessions as well as casual and simple gameplay are ideal for the mobile platform. The developers managed to successfully implement the concept of the Stillborn Artifact game from Valve.
The gameplay remains very relaxing, but that doesn't mean the player's skill doesn't matter at all. In most cases, the player does not need to be tormented by doubts. All you need to do is play a card to the correct location. In every match you do the same things. Players have much less space to act compared to Hearthstone. Instead of adapting to their opponent's strategy, players try to take advantage of the effects of random locations. The pool of locations continues to increase and this is one of the most important features of the game. The ability to raise bets using the Snap button allows the player to actively move up the ladder and introduces a bluffing component into the game that can force an opponent to fold. This creates fun situations. The game contains only 6 key mechanics and most likely introducing radically new ideas will be an unattainable task. Since unlike Hearthstone, Snap does not create new sets but instead adds 1 new card every week. Despite this, developers are introducing tools that force the main strategies to evolve. The game still does not have a full-fledged card crafting system. You can craft a specific or random card for a very rare currency, but only from a limited pool of cards. This approach forces players to create many different versions of the same archetypes depending on the availability of key cards in their collection. This artificially increases variety, since a beginner has absolutely no access to the most effective builds. The Battle Pass is still a must purchase as it contains a new exclusive card that won't be available through other means for some time. Thus, premium players buy advantages. These facts cast serious doubt on the competitive component of the game. I have no idea about the health of the competitive environment and the balance of the game. My budget builds significantly lose their effectiveness at high ranks.
It is worth recalling that Snap has a specific system for receiving cards. The cards in the game are divided into series and roughly correspond to the rarity of the cards in Hearthstone. Players receive starting cards right away, but then they need to spend almost a week to unlock Series 1 cards, which are análogous to the base cards in Hearthstone or the modern core set. After this, players will begin to collect cards from the second series, which can roughly be called analogs of common cards. The 4th and 5th series are analogs of Epic and Legend cards. Access to them was initially opened mainly to premium players. Most often, among these cards there are key tools for best strategies.
Before we talk about the most interesting things, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your support is invaluable. Our videos require a huge amount of effort. We will be grateful for any support.
Likes, comments, subscription to the channel and sponsorship motivate us to create new useful videos in conditions of renewed Russian missile attacks on Ukraine's energy system and civilian infrastructure.
I want to draw your attention to one more feature. When I played the game, I was very surprised that the collection manager doesn't have the ability to divide your cards by rarity, and in a simple way to determine how many cards still need to be collected. It's impossible to imagine Hearthstone without such a convenient way to navigate through the collection. And I'm very surprised that the team that worked on these two games decided to completely ignore this feature in Snap. Cards from different series do not have a special visual design. The rarest cards are incredibly difficult to collect. I got the impression that in this way the developers intentionally hide the real progress of the players.
In total, I played Snap as a casual player for more than half a year. I have completely or almost completed 6 seasonal rewards tracks. During this time, I was able to collect only a few cards of high rarity and I completely don't understand the level of my progress. Although, according to fan sites, there are about 30 legendary cards and their number is growing every week. I still miss a huge number of rare cards from the 3rd series. But it's not just high rarity cards that are hard to find in Snap. After the release of the game, I was forced to play the Unreveal strategy, since I received the most good rare cards for this archetype. Since my recent return, the key card in this strategy has been Wong, whose rarity has been reduced to Series 3. The strategy is the equivalent of the Battlecry archetype and Wong is a reincarnation of Bran. I think you understand how important this card is and how much it affects the win rate. Due to the lack of a crafting system, I only had a few non-guaranteed ways to obtain this card. First, the player can buy a random new rare card from the 3rd series for a very rare currency. This is not the most rational solution. Secondly, the developers have created a new opportunity to obtain cards from the 3rd series. Every 8 hours a random rare card appears in the store. You can get it for free only once a month. If you are very active you will have a chance to find what you are looking for, but for this you will need effort and luck. Personally, I was unlucky. Finally, the player sometimes receives random cards while moving along the main endless reward track. Thus, there is no guaranteed and quick way to get a card of even low rarity.
You're right, this problem exists, but you're completely ignoring a very important new feature. The lack of a crafting system and extremely long progress make getting meta decks extremely difficult. I also had experience playing Snap, and had great difficulty finding good recommended decks, since I did not have key cards. The developers solved this problem using Auto Deck Builder. This feature has been around for a long time in Hearthstone and is very useful, but for Snap it is vital. Now the game will collect the best deck from all your cards or complete the deck for you. Yes, your deck will most likely not perform well, due to the lack of key cards of high rarity, but you can significantly increase the variety of available strategies.
We should talk separately about significant changes in the progression system. Last year, our main complaint with Snap was the lack of full access for players to new content. New cards were available primarily only to premium players who were willing to invest an almost infinite amount of money into the game. The active free-to-play player needed to wait for the gradual rarity drop in order to receive a key card with a higher probability. Moreover, this approach was unpredictable, since some cards did not reduce their rarity for too long. This created a very clear barrier between premium players and the free-to-play community. The introduction of spotlight keys and chests solves this problem in a very unusual way.
New cards appear in the game every week, and the contents of the spotlight chest are also updated at the same frequency. Each week, players have the chance to unlock 3 featured cards of high rarity, which contain a new card, plus 4th random card. The probability of receiving each reward is the same. To open the chest, the player needs keys, which are located on an endless reward track. In other words, this is another introduction of gacha mechanics but with very predictable consequences and simple rules. If you want to be guaranteed to get a specific old card or a new tool, you will need to invest up to 4 keys. If you are lucky, you can even get a card by investing only 1 key. Initially, players could not collect keys, chests opened automatically. This approach fully corresponded to the ideology of the game. But after recent changes, players were allowed to save keys and ignore chests that did not contain the necessary cards. I don't know anything about this, but I wouldn't be surprised that the changes were influenced by the player community. This way, players can accumulate keys, just like gold in Hearthstone, and adapt more flexibly to the game's economy. This change allows premium players to plan their expenses. The key can be found every 120 levels, and the player can purchase the necessary resources to obtain the key. In this way, the player can finally calculate how much money needs to be invested in order to get a specific card. In the past, this was not possible.
Sounds really great, but I'm sure you guys will still find a reason to remain unsatisfied.
This system has one significant drawback. The number of keys that active players can receive for free is very limited. According to my preliminary calculations, a very active free-to-play player who actively grinds can earn only 4 keys per month. For a casual player who doesn't log into the game every 8 hours, a realistic number of keys is 2 or 3 per month. At the same time, to get a chance to collect all the new cards from the chests over the course of a month, the player needs to spend from 4 to 16 keys, depending on his luck. This also applies to experienced players, since having old cards from a chest in their collection will not increase their chance of receiving a new card.
This means that players still have very limited access to all new content. You can't buy keys from the store directly, but you can buy resources to actively progress on the track and unlock additional keys. The average player will have to skip most of the new content and invest keys only in the most necessary cards. If you were unable to obtain a specific card due to missing a key or bad luck, you will have to wait an indefinite amount of time for the chest to update and the card to become available again.
I'll continue to play devil's advocate and note that this approach seems significantly more generous compared to the previous progression system. I'm right, aren't I?
Yes, you are right. Things have gotten much better, but these changes have not solved all the problems. If there is a barrier for a player to obtain a certain card, then the competitive component of the game cannot be taken seriously. But this does not mean that the game will not bring you fun.
Finally, I want to talk about the latest important innovation. This year the game has a new conquest mode. In ideology, it is analogous to the arena in Hearthstone, since players need to buy tickets, including for real money, but the participation of experienced players can be free and can even bring a ton of useful resources. If in Hearthstone for experienced players the arena is a source of an endless amount of game resources, then in Snap, conquest does not affect progress, since it rewards players with only one of the 2 key components for progression, but at the same time it can save a huge amount of time on grinding. The gameplay is very unique. You are invited to buy or farm a ticket to one of 3 competitions. The more expensive the ticket, the more generous the reward you can receive. The competition is a series of battles against one opponent using one deck. Bluff's influence plays an even stronger role in this mode. Winning a battle will earn you a higher value ticket and a special currency for which you can purchase rewards, including tickets for another opportunity to take part in the battle. In theory, this is a lot of fun, but unlike Arena, your meta deck with a high win rate is key, while the skill combined with a budget deck is not a win condition. This is probably the only new aspect that I didn't like.
Guys, let's get to the conclusions. What is your verdict? Has the game gotten better?
This year has been very productive for Snap. The automatic deck building feature directly affects the increase in diversity. The game has become significantly more friendly thanks to the introduction of spotlight keys and chests.
It's very nice to see that the game is gradually correcting its shortcomings, but the Snap team shouldn't stop. The main problem that still remains is the competitive component, but based on the ideology and monetization of the game, I am not sure that this problem will ever be solved. Next year will probably be decisive for the future of the game. The restructuring of Nuverse, which is the publisher of Marvel Snap, will definitely cause turbulence. The game will have to endure an expected decline in new players and a potential decline in profits. Despite our criticism, we wish the game to cope with all challenges, since Snap is a very important phenomenon for the card game industry.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.